Clayton from Adrenalin Rush Sports Australia. This episode of the Kite Fit program, we're going to get into the front squat. Now, the front squat is, for some, and for me in particular, is quite a really hard movement. Now, it takes a lot of thoracic extension, shoulder mobility, and wrist and elbow mobility as well. So if you are quite tight in those areas, this can give you a little bit of grief. But I'll show you a couple of little methods that you can do to get around that, okay? So basically the front squat, what we're trying to do is squat a barbell whilst in a front rack position. Now, the reason why a front squat would be relevant for a kiteboarder in particular is if you imagine that you are coming down from a big jump, you've thrown a big handle pass off a wave, and you're coming down with quite a lot of force. You need to be able to dissipate that force evenly and efficiently through your legs. Now, if you're a really poor squatter, or you have a really weak squat, the ability for you to keep your knees out over your toes and really be biomechanically correct whilst you land is going to be reduced quite a lot. So understanding that, if we can improve our ability on the bar and in the gym, it's going to make our ability on the water just that little bit better, a little bit stronger, and we're going to be a little bit safer as well. So the front squat. Now, if you watched our back squat video, it's very similar to that in the setup. If you haven't, we'll go through it again. Now, the position of the bar in our body in reference to the back squat is just a little bit different. So understanding that, the setup is quite similar. So what we want to do is basically set our J hooks to the right height. So what I mean by the right height is the bar is, the J hooks are just low enough so when we get under it and unrack it, that we can step back without having to worry about lifting the bar up over the J hooks. And when we walk in, we're not worrying about trying to place the bar in the J hooks as well, okay? Now for our hands, we basically want to make them mirror image. Now in the back squat, we went a little bit wider because we're coming under the bar. Now this is really determined by shoulder range of motion as well. But generally for people that do like clean works, power cleans and all that sort of stuff, I like to go thumb width from the edge of the knurling just to make it specific for the clean. Given that would generally puts you in a pretty good position for your front rack and your elbow position. Now so once we understand the hands and where we need to be, we come under the bar, make sure we're in the middle of the bar, and then we unrack it just to make sure that we're even. So you can always test if you're even or not by just really thinking about it. Do I feel even? Does the weight feel evenly distributed over my body? From there, what we do is walk out, take a couple of steps back, then we get into our squatting stance, and then we go through the front squat. So I'm going to demonstrate a front squat with the front rack position, understanding that it's quite light and I struggle with it, so I'm human, but I'll show you what mine looks like whilst I'm cold and then how you can get around fixing this just to try and improve your ability to get into a front squat. So what I do, I set my hands, make sure they're even on the bar. Now what I do is, because I do struggle with the front rack, I usually go to 2 fingers, and if you have all the weight distributed across your shoulders, it's not going to be an issue keeping your elbows up, okay? So I come into a front rack position, try and keep your elbows up nice and high, unrack the bar, and take a step back. Now the aim of the game is to try and keep our elbows up as high as we can to keep the weight on our body, okay? We get into our squatting stance, make sure we're feeling nice and comfortable. We set our core, we come down as far as we can into a front squat, then coming back up. Now the aim of the game is to keep our knees out over our toes, and keeping our body vertical. We walk back in. Now, I generally struggle with front squat a lot. As you can tell, I'm quite tight. But if you're like me, we have a couple of little options we can do to make that a little bit easier on ourselves. So one thing that I have seen just recently as well is you can get straps, wrap them around the bar. So you have the holding the straps here. That's going to remove your wrist range of motion requirements, but we don't need to worry about that. The big thing I like to do is, and you see probably a lot of bodybuilders and a lot of other guys do it as well, is you can just cross your arms in this position here. Now, understanding if our weight is on our body, the bar shouldn't roll backwards or forwards, okay? So when we do that, because we're not holding onto the bar, we need to make sure the bar is in the right position, okay? So how we find that is basically runs behind the head of our delt, across the top of our collarbones. I like to get as hard up against our throat as we can, so really make sure it's not going to go anywhere. and then keep our elbows up as high as we can, okay? Rightio, so we're going to, just for the demonstration of the video, I'm just going to show you from the other side. So understanding that we want that bar to rest as deep as we can against our throat and behind the head of our delt, which is our shoulder. We try and set ourselves relatively even on the bar, okay? Once we feel nice and comfortable, elbows up as high as we can, we stand up. Now if you feel like that was uneven, we can go straight back down, recenter ourselves, and have another go. Now that feels pretty good. So then what you would do is walk back out and start squatting. So I'll demonstrate the full thing if we were just squatting normally. So I set myself on the bar, elbows up nice and high, unrack it, that's the front squat. Now saying that is one way that you can practice the mechanics of a front squat whilst under load. But if we do really struggle with the front rack, maybe we should definitely look at trying to mobilize our shoulders a bit better, just so we can get into a front rack position. Now I can get into a front rack position fine, it just takes me a little bit longer to get into it. Need to do a little bit of muscle release and all that sort of stuff around the shoulder. But we will get into that in the future. So that's a front squat. Understanding how to do this properly is going to really improve our strength in the front squat, especially through our legs, quads, hammies and glutes. And it's going to improve our strength on the water and our ability to stay safe on the water. So I'm Braden from Adrenalin Rush Sports Australia. This is the Kitefit program, and this was the front squat. I hope you learned something today, and if you like this video, please subscribe and check us out. Cheers, guys.
Check out adrenalinrush.net.au for all the links.